Douluo Dalu II, the Unrivaled Tang Sect. 10,000 years after the rise of the legendary Tang Sect, the glory that once illuminated the Douluo continent had faded into myth. The era of Tang San, the man who once stood at the absolute peak of the continent before ascending to godhood, had long passed. In his absence, the Tang sect slowly declined, losing both its influence and military supremacy. The hidden weapons that once terrified entire nations became obsolete with the rise of soul tool technology developed by the Sun-Moon Empire. As machine-spirit integration and soul engineering advanced rapidly, the traditional cultivation system that had ruled the continent for millennia began to weaken. The once invincible Tang sect was eventually reduced to little more than a forgotten relic of history. At the center of this collapsing era stood a lonely boy named Huiyuhao. Born within the White Tiger Duke's manor as the son of a concubine, Yuhao grew up surrounded by humiliation, neglect, and cruelty. His mother suffered endlessly under the oppression of the Duchess and the hostility of Dai Huabin, the legitimate heir of the White Tiger clan. After years of abuse and misery, Yuhao's mother eventually died, leaving him completely alone. Filled with grief, hatred, and the desire to become stronger, the young boy abandoned the White Tiger Duke's manor and stepped into the wider world, unaware that destiny itself had already begun to revolve around him. During his journey, Huiyuhao encountered an existence that would completely change his fate: the million-year soul beast Skydream Iceworm. Unlike ordinary soul beasts, Skydream became the world's first spirit soul infused with Yuhao, awakening his extraordinary potential. Through this fusion, Yuhao obtained the rare Spirit Eyes martial soul, granting him overwhelming spiritual perception, mental control, and analytical abilities. Later, he also awakened the terrifying Ice Jade Empress Scorpion martial soul, giving him mastery over Ultimate Ice, one of the strongest elemental powers in existence. Possessing twin martial souls made Yuhao a once-in-an-era genius whose potential far surpassed ordinary soul masters. However, Skydream was not the only mysterious existence within Yuhao's spiritual sea. Soon after, another entity appeared, Electrolux, the Calamity Necromancer saint from an entirely different plane of existence. Though only a fragment of divine consciousness remained after his destruction, Electrolux became Yuhao's mentor and protector. He taught him necromancy, spiritual techniques, soul fusion methods, and countless forbidden arts. More importantly, he repeatedly saved Yuhao from certain death during some of the darkest moments of his life. Under the guidance of both Skydream and Electrolux, Yuhao gradually evolved into something far beyond an ordinary soul master, a cultivator who combined spiritual power, ultimate ice, soul engineering, and necromantic abilities into a completely unique fighting style. Eventually, Yuhao arrived at Shrek Academy, the greatest academy on the Douluo continent and the birthplace of countless legends. Although many initially underestimated him because of his weak cultivation rank, Yuhao slowly shocked everyone through his intelligence, perseverance, and extraordinary talents. It was there that he met Wang Dong, a gifted and mysterious student who would eventually become the most important person in his life. Unknown to Yuhao at the time, Wang Dong was actually Tang Wutong, the daughter of Tang San and Xiao Wu. Out of boredom with the God realm and under Tang San's arrangement, she had descended to the lower plane with her memories sealed. Disguised as a boy, she enrolled at Shrek Academy in order to experience the mortal world and unknowingly accompany Tang San's chosen successor, Huiyuhao. As Yuhao integrated himself into Shrek Academy, he became one of the core members of the new generation of Shrek's 7 monsters. Together with Tangya and Bei Bei, the final remaining disciples of the nearly extinct Tang sect, he accepted the burden of reviving the fallen sect. At the beginning, the Tang sect possessed almost nothing. It consisted of only Tangya and Bei Bei struggling to preserve the legacy left behind by Tang San. However, Yuhao's arrival marked the beginning of its rebirth. Unlike the older generation, Yuhao understood that the world had changed. Traditional methods alone could no longer protect the sect. After returning from the Sun Moon Empire during a student exchange program, Yu Hao and Bei Bei decided to merge ancient Tang Sect techniques with modern soul tool engineering. They recruited Xian Ziwen, a genius engineer from the illustrious Virtue Hall, and began producing advanced soul guidance weapons. These weapons were sold to Shrek City's military, the Star Luo Empire, the Heaven Do Empire, and the Do Ling Empire. Eventually, the Tang sect established its own military legion and rapidly regained influence across the continent. Through the fusion of ancient hidden weapon techniques and cutting-edge soul technology, the Tang sect slowly rose once again from the ashes. Yet while the Tang sect was rebuilding itself, darkness was spreading throughout the continent. The Sun Moon Empire sought to conquer the Douluo continent through overwhelming military strength and advanced soul tools. At the same time, the Holy Ghost Church emerged from the shadows, gathering evil soul masters and spreading fear, death, and chaos everywhere they appeared. Even the balance between humans and soul beasts began collapsing as the Silver Dragon King awakened, preparing to lead soul beasts into war against humanity itself. Caught within this storm of war and destiny, Yu Hao was forced to mature rapidly. Although he initially desired revenge against the White Tiger clan, Yu Hao gradually changed through his experiences. He defeated Dai Huabin repeatedly and humiliated the arrogant heir who had tormented him for years. However, as he grew stronger, his hatred slowly faded. He eventually came to understand the burdens carried by Dai Hao, the White Tiger Duke, and even developed genuine bonds with members of the clan such as Dai Luoli. By the time Yu Hao finally possessed enough strength to take revenge, he no longer desired destruction. What he truly wanted was acknowledgement for his mother and proof that neither she nor her son had ever been worthless. Meanwhile, Yu Hao's relationship with Tang Wutong evolved into one of the emotional pillars of the story. Together, they developed terrifying martial soul fusion abilities and fought countless battles side by side. However, their love endured endless suffering and trials. During the Yin-Yang love-querying valley trials, Wang Donger sacrificed herself to save Yu Hao, eventually falling into a coma. This tragedy pushed Yu Hao into despair and forced him to confront the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and loss. Around the same time, Wang Qiu'er entered his life. Wang Qiu'er, who possessed the Golden Dragon martial soul and the power of ultimate strength, was actually the transformed auspicious three-eyed Golden Lion Emperor. After seeing Yu Hao's memories and emotions, she became fascinated by humanity and eventually fell deeply in love with him. Unlike many others, her love was pure, silent, and unconditional. During the trials of the Yin-Yang love-querying valley, Wang Qiu'er revealed the depth of her feelings when she calmly declared that she would willingly die for Yu Hao without hesitation. Later, after Yu Hao was pushed to the brink of death during a rescue mission, Qiu'er ultimately sacrificed herself completely, fusing her soul into Yu Hao and granting him immense power, including the full authority of the Eye of Destiny. Even after her death, a fragment of her soul remained connected to both Yu Hao and Tang Wutong, becoming one of the most tragic and emotional parts of the entire story. At the same time, numerous other characters experienced their own struggles, tragedies, and growth. Tangya, the original sect master of the Tang sect, was manipulated and brainwashed by the Holy Ghost Church after seeking revenge for her parents. Once cheerful and energetic, she became a powerful evil soul master before eventually being rescued by Yu Hao and Bei Bei. Through immense effort, Yu Hao later saved her life and restored her future, allowing her to become a titled Douluo. He Kai too, originally a prince of the Sun Moon Empire named Su He, became one of Yu Hao's closest allies and rivals in soul engineering. After his family was massacred in a royal coup, he dedicated his life to revenge and eventually became the titled Douluo known as the Origin of Destruction. Su Sancher and Jiang Nannan overcame one of the most painful and tragic relationships in this series. Their story explored guilt, trauma, forgiveness, and healing, eventually leading them to become a genuine couple after enduring countless emotional trials together. Zhu Zi, one of the most complex female characters in the story, became both Yu Hao's ally and enemy. Although she deeply loved him, her hatred toward the White Tiger Duke and her ambitions within the Sun Moon Empire drove her down a darker path. Her relationship with Yu Hao remained emotionally complicated until the very end. Ma Xiaotao, once consumed by the darkness within her evil phoenix martial soul, eventually returned from corruption through Yu Hao's efforts and became one of Shrek Academy's strongest protectors. Throughout countless wars, tournaments, rescue missions, and divine trials, Hui Yu Hao slowly walked the path toward godhood. Tang San observed him carefully from the god realm, testing both his strength and his character. Eventually, Yu Hao underwent the brutal god trials designed to help him integrate divine power under extreme pressure. However, these trials also served as Tang San's personal punishment for Yu Hao's relationship with his daughter and for inheriting the position of the god of emotions instead of the sea god. Despite every hardship, betrayal, tragedy, and sacrifice, Hui Yu Hao never stopped moving forward. From a powerless orphan abandoned within the White Tiger Duke's manor, he rose to become one of the greatest figures in the history of the Douluo continent. Under his leadership, the Tang sect was reborn stronger than ever before. The new generation of Shrek's 7 monsters inherited the will of their predecessors and carried the legacy of Tang San into a completely different era. An era defined by soul tools, political warfare, awakening soul beasts, and conflicts that reached even the god realm itself. In the end, Hui Yu Hao's journey became far more than a story of revenge or cultivation. It became a story about rebirth, the rebirth of the Tang sect, the rebirth of a broken child into a legendary hero, and the rebirth of hope within a continent drowning in war and chaos. Amid endless battles, sacrifice, friendship, love, betrayal, and destiny, Hui Yu Hao forged a new legend, one that would echo throughout the Douluo continent for generations to come.